Alright. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, camera. Listen up. Okay, I'm freaking out.
Chill.
I'm the one that
just chill.
I'm the one that should be freaking out.
Oh,
Okay,
what's
okay.
wrong?
Yeah.
Get this. Its word is, no.
Yes, it is.
Bloopers. Its word is raw uncut conversations. Your number one. No.
You do it. You come on.
Wait.
This is your thing. This is your thing. Own it.
No, it's you. So
Own it. Own it.
Don't get starstruck.
it's my house. It's my
Yeah,
house.
it's your house.
It's your house.
Own it.
Yeah.
You run this thing.
Watching Word Is. Yeah.
You're watching Word Is.
Watching Word Is.
You are watching What Is. Subscribe right here, right now.
Raw, uncut, good and bad.
Cause I'm gonna be a brand name. Looking down from the stage at the show where all my fans came. High rolling in the fast lane. Everybody giving love, saying gonna do the damn thing.
Said I'm gonna be a star. You don't, you are. Said I'm gonna be.
This word is raw uncut conversations. Number one podcast in the kingdom, aka with the shit. Word. Come on, I'm good at feeling. But you can call me V's because it sounds nice. Yeah, it sounds
Nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All of this technology between us.
You know,
So,
like yeah. Now we finally here in my space. You know.
She's blocking the camera, but it's cool. But it's cool.
Yeah, man. This is where I teach. This is where I work. We're at the MND Studios. Yeah, and word is we about to do this thing.
Yeah, man. Today our passport is stamped to be in Midori, Nightfall to be exact. Right? Yeah. We're chilling with the veterans, the shot caller, the Mac Daddy.
Veteran sounds a bit like
old.
sounds dated.
The OG of Mtwako.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
man.
more like
Yeah, man. Talk
Yeah.
to your people, man. Who's Towdeemac?
Towdeemac is a rapper. You know, I'm a rapper before I'm a producer, but I'm also a producer. Produced for a whole host of Motsakolistas and, you know, other musicians outside of the scope of Motsako. I've worked with Pro and Mugs, you might remember from Tibbs' album. Yeah, I've worked with obviously Kulichana, I've worked with Double HP, I've worked with Dukes, Mulimi. Recently, actually, we were just in studio with Casper, but you know, maybe that should be on the hush. But yeah, people saw pictures on the internet.
Like you heard it here
so, yeah.
first.
Yeah, no, people saw Instagram pictures and stuff. So yeah, so you know, yeah. But otherwise, yeah, you know, it's been a long journey. I've mentored Benchmark, Zuchi Coke Dope, you know. Yeah, so, you know, actually Benchmark and Zuchi Coke Dope went to this college here and I taught them. Yeah, so, yeah, man, so my passion is now in not only making music, but making musicians. You know?
So you don't just teach, you practice,
Yeah, definitely. I've got a program called Backstage Lectures where, you know, for the kids that can't afford to come and pay tuition at such facilities, you know, I go out to townships and rural areas and kind of share knowledge. And, you know, I mean, wherever the talent is, you need to be able to impart knowledge and give them the entrepreneurial tools to come out to the industry and do their thing.
So how do you balance this music and the teaching?
Well, because I teach music business and music technology, my activities in the music industry as a musician is part of my research work. So I'm kind of like my own guinea pig, you know. Everything that I learn operating in the music business, whether as a producer or as a musician or as a music business consultant, if I can put it that way, you know, as I help others. Or as a mentor, all of that I do is part of my research work, because I come back here and teach on my experiences, because there's it's one thing to read in a textbook what happens or what's supposed to happen in the music industry, and then there's what really happens. I try to strike a balance between the two when I teach my students.
What has made you last in the game?
Um,
How have you managed to stay in the game? Do these kids help you?
I think-
feel young again.
I mean, if you listen to songs like Mpinjim Joy and Yes Chick, you can tell that, you know, I draw some of my inspiration from the youngsters, you know. I'm not one of those OGs that believe that the youngsters are ruining the game, you know. I feel that the game is where it is. Hip hop is a big girl. She's taking care of herself, and she's taking herself to wherever she wants to go. And the people follow. So if you're gonna be bureaucratic and want to stick to the same mundane way of doing things, you know, you're gonna get left behind. But I always advocate that look, as a rapper, you should be able to rap on any beat. Be it a house beat, be it a kwaito beat, be it trap beat, be it boom bap. As long as your content is on point, you know, it doesn't really matter. You know, as long as you rap well, you know, that's all I say. That's all, you know. I mean, people say, you know, trap is ruining hip hop. No, bad rappers are ruining hip hop, and bad rappers have been ruining hip hop since the beginning of time. But you'll always have those good rappers that are.
So you don't feel these days more about the sound than the lyrics? Maybe.
That's a personal opinion thing, you know. Like, there are people who listen to music. Look, let me put it this way: there are two types of people who listen to music across the board. Let's take house, for example. In house music, you get that vocal house, and I like vocal house for the lyrics, because, you know, if you listen to some house music, like, the lyrics are really deep and poetic and like stimulating mentally, you know. And another person will just like the same song because of the sound, you know. So it's not just a hip hop thing. Across the board, there are two types of listeners of music. There are people who listen to it for the content. There are people who listen to it for, you know, the beat. But, you know, narrowing it down to hip hop, you know, the market the market controls what sells. Let me put it that way. The market is the catalyst to who then becomes the biggest thing based on sales, based on popularity, right? Has very little bearing on how good you are as a musician. We've always seen this in hip hop, especially. Why a Talib Kweli and a Common will not be as big as a little Yachi or whatever, you know what I mean? So that's not a surprise. It's been happening, you know. But every once in a while, you'll get a musician that is both appealing content-wise, and he raps on music that is appealing to people that just like to hear the beats, you know. Take your Casper on your vest for example. A lot of people would like to hate him. Double HP. You know what I mean? A lot of people would like to hate on Casper because they feel like, nah, you know, he's a gimmick, you know. But if you sit down and really listen to songs like I Wasn't Ready, if you listen to songs like Destiny, there's like heavy content there, and he's pouring his heart out. Not a lot of rappers can talk about their insecurities and their shortcomings. And on Destiny, he actually kind of puts himself in a position to say, I got
confused as well.
I was confused, yeah. And this is, for me, is the same thing that Jay-Z did on 444. He put himself out there, his vulnerabilities out there. For me, that's what makes a great rapper, because you're giving us your life, you're giving us the truth, you know, how you really feel, what you wouldn't admit to the next person. And people don't care about that. People want to hear the beats. People, you know, or sometimes people want it to be popular first for them to respect it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's crazy because they're the ones that make something.
Play the system first.
Yeah, like a song has to be on high rotation on radio. You have to have seen it on TV several times. That's why sometimes you find yourself churning out a melody, singing a song you don't like.
Like hold it.
Like, you know what I mean?
Like hold it.
Yeah. So sometimes, you know, TV and radio have this effect where if you constantly sing a video or you hear a song on radio all the time that you don't own, on whether it's a CD in your computer or on your phone, but you find yourself singing along to it because it's been drummed into your mind, doesn't necessarily mean that that's a great song. It means it's been drummed into your mind. So the concept and the idea of what's a great song and what's not has been diluted. You know, because really only the Fundis, I guess, can say technically this is a great song because. But as far as the listener is concerned, you have to leave it up to them. Say, if they think Sister Bettina is a great song, Sister Bettina is a great song. Don't come here with your technical knowledge and try to analyze that.
What are you working on right now?
Wow, man. Currently, like I said, we were in studio with Casper recently. Probably something that'll only come out next year. Also, I'm doing something with Sean Pages that we're hoping to bring out this festive. That's going to be just as exciting as when we get live. Other than that, I've got an artist by the name of Huge the Oracle, who's making waves in the industry right now. He just got a video out of 5 digits. Yeah, man, he's actually been my primary focus lately. Trying to push him and get him out
So
there.
you produce more these days?
Yeah, these days I'm behind artists and producers. I'm bringing up also, up and coming producers. There's a team called African Bass Cartel. It's Dante, A Kings, and the guys, and they're just a bunch of young producers that are doing like stuff that I feel should get out there and be heard. So yeah, most of my work right now is focused on building musicians.
You still pushing the Mutako movement?
Yeah, of course.
What is Mutako?
Mutako is a family, it's a movement, it's a culture. And that I'll forever be a part of because I've been there since the beginning, since before it was cool to rap in mother tongue. And we used, Mutako as a vehicle to make African culture appealing to Africans. It's sad that the world finds Africa more appealing than Africa does. And Mutako is just one of those tools and vehicles that we use to try and inject the cool in African culture. And yeah, I'm still 100% active. I'm performing, I'm doing shows. Morafe will be performing at Mahika Mahike in Left Town High. Yeah, so we're still pushing. We're still busy putting together some Morafe music with the hopes of putting together an album next year. But we're not rushing it as far as that's concerned.
Let's take lesson one.
Yeah.
Lesson one. There's a remake.
Yeah, actually it's the same project. Here's what happened, right? So when I first released Lesson 1 in 2012, it was solely and only on disc. And I pushed it out the boot of my car. And I wasn't even keeping track of how much I was selling. I was just getting my music out there, I made quite a lot of trips, printing CDs, getting them out there, there were people that actually came up and were like, yo, I'll buy like 10 or 20. So they would buy them at cost and then they'll sell them. So it became so popular that people started complaining that it's not online. And I was reluctant to put it online because I was enjoying the fact that people had to call me, come to me, they wanted the CD. Every show I went to, I would sell out my booth because it was the only way they could get it. So I was enjoying that. So obviously a couple of years later, I'm not going to print anymore. I'm making a new material online, and people started saying, okay, now can you put it online? You know, for the past 3 years, people have been saying, come on, why not put it online? So this year I decided on my birthday, I was like, you know what, as a birthday present for myself and my fans and supporters, I'm gonna put this album online. And I did exactly that. And yo, the response was amazing. Like, even people that are hearing it for the first time are like, where the hell has this been? You know, and
But it has that today sound.
yeah, like it's amazing. A lot of people have said that this sounds like you did it this year. And I was like, no, this is a 5-year-old project. You know, so yeah, I guess it's timeless music.
Timeless music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Meanwhile,
There's so much to talk about, man.
yeah. So how's the relationship, the brotherhood between Cageism, you, China, and Cody?
Really, nigga?
Yeah, we actually yesterday we just got off the phone with Kuli. He's busy doing something with Absolute. It's called One Source Live. Yeah, man, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be. I can't say too much, but all I can tell you is it's gonna work a lot for the unification of African artists throughout the whole continent. You know, and that's what's exciting for me about it. It's you know, Kuli has partnered up with the agency and Absolute, and they're about to create a big platform for African musicians all the way from the north all the way down south here, to bring a live platform for African musicians to regularly, you know, appear in front of crowds, you know, and their supporters and their fans, and sort of like taking it from the screens and the speakers to the streets. You know,
That's where the music belongs.
that's where the music belongs. So yeah, that's great. Also, and I'm also going to be plugging in, you know, myself in there however I can, because you know the education aspect of what I do also is very important now in music. I've learned doing my backstage lectures, teaching these kids. You know, I've learned that there's a lot that you learn from teaching somebody something, and there's a lot of development that happens in that space. I mean, you hear it in the music that I'm releasing lately, that I've learned something from people that I've been teaching. You know, so since I realized that, I realized the importance of sharing knowledge, because wherever knowledge is shared, the way I processed the knowledge when I learned it is not the same way you're going to process the knowledge when you learn it. So the learning and teaching process is a learning process in itself for both of us, you know. So yeah, that's what I'm enjoying lately. KG also has been doing some beautiful music in studio. I can't wait for him to drop. Wow, man, he's got, you know, he's I think he's about 10 tracks deep now doing his solo, and I'm excited. That's why we're not in a rush to do the Morafe stuff, because I'm really excited to have people hear what KG has to offer on his own first before we, you know, delve into the Morafe stuff, because that also will give birth to the new Morafe sound, you know, that we're busy workshopping. And I feel like,
So there is an album coming.
I don't want to say that, but yeah, all you need to know is, yeah, we working on music.
We're waiting on that, even though we don't understand some of the lyrics, but yeah.
Yeah, like we,
It's not
yeah,
much dope.
and because of Kuli's work, you know, going into the continent and working with other, you know, African artists, you know, the next Morafe album is going to be that widespread. We looking at, you know, no longer, you know, having only songs that you can't hear, but kind of, you know, broadening the spectrum in terms of, you know, languages, content, cultures. You know, Morafe has to represent something bigger than it did before when we come out again. Yeah.
So you kind of like went to exile and learned the business thing, so
You
you
know.
can come back and
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
We like, yeah. We,
yeah, let's
we-
speak music business. How important is it for an artist to understand the business side than just like I'm doing what I'm doing for the people?
Yo, you know, I'll tell you, in my work as a music business consultant, I've worked with record labels, artist managers, and artists, right? And you know, something as intricate as helping a record label build a structure makes me realize that artists need to get into that. Other genres, you find that, for example, rock musicians are a little bit more business savvy, but that's also because they have to put together a band, they have to maintain the band, so they have to look at their finances very differently from just a rapper that gets on stage, makes 10 grand, squashes it on sneakers, But yeah, it's very important for all musicians to kind of learn the finances of music, the value chain. And I say the value chain because a lot of musicians don't even know their position in the value chain, And if they did, they would realize that they're the employer of the whole industry. For there to be a product, there has to be a musician. The musician is the producer. The musician is the farmer, right? And then can employment be created for an artist manager, for a PR agent, for a distributor, for the lawyers that have to draft the contracts and everything. It is the musician, the creative, that employs everybody else. And if musicians were to start looking at themselves this way and handling themselves as employers and as businesses, then they would realize how important it is to start learning the finances that run this whole, structure. And they would start to take themselves more seriously, invest in themselves more, because they would understand how important they are in the value chain of the music industry. And right now, you have a situation where the employers are exploiting, the employees are exploiting the employers, and in any other industry, it's absurd to even think that that could happen. But yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
because I've been telling cats back home the same thing. Like, okay, ask you this first. Do you think, let's say I'm a rapper, at the stages of my career, do you think I need a manager? Or I should just...
Learn. You know what? You're not gonna know what type of manager you need. You're not gonna be able to identify the right manager until you've managed yourself first. Because when you manage yourself, you learn for the first time what type of artist you really are, what it takes to manage you. If you haven't done that, you'll just pick up any old body to manage you. But until you've run your own business affairs as a musician, to a point where you feel like, okay, now I need to focus on the music, the money's coming in, but now I can't be all over the place. I need to be in the studio, I need to be creating music, I need somebody to handle this. Then when you go looking for that employee, you know exactly who to look for. And then you run your HR properly.
Not just a buddy from school.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And speaking of buddies from school, I always say to musicians, when you're still in high school or even tertiary, you are surrounded by people with potential and with expertise. And having the values that you're going to need around you when you progress as a musician. Take high school, for example. You're a rapper, and because you're the cool dude, that nerd guy that's like acing accounting doesn't really matter to you. That nerd guy that's like acing history doesn't really matter to you. But later on in your career, you're going to need an accountant and a lawyer. And if you make friends with those guys at that time and tell them, look guys, I do music, I'm going to need this. Because once you learn the value chain, you realize you're going to need all these people. I mean, the music industry employs everybody. Look at these monitors, for example. They are the product of a carpenter and an electrician, not a musician. Right? This studio is the product of an architect and a construction worker, not a musician. This very desk here, right? It's tech guys and electricians. So if you surround yourself with all these professionals at a very early stage, when you guys go off to tertiary, the accounting guy knows that he's studying accounting and he's going to do the accounts of your business, your music business that you're going to start, whatever it is that you want to start, your record label, right? Then he starts to do research on the finance structures of a record label. Then as he's learning at school, and that makes school more interesting and exciting for him because he knows he's working towards something. Same with the guy that's studying law. He'll probably go into corporate law, but at the same time, do some research on entertainment law. So the more he learns, it's more interesting for him because he knows exactly where he's going. And there's this buddy of his that's like killing it on stage, and they see where their business is going to grow too. By the time you guys graduate, you have a company, you have a record label, you guys come from high school together, so the synergy in there is just crazy. They understand you as a musician, they've heard all your songs from demo stages, so it's a well-oiled engine by the time you run a business together. But no, the rapper's too cool, bro. He doesn't want to associate with those nerds. He just hangs with the chicks and the guys that just want to do parties and whatever. But yeah, that's my take on it. It's important to start at early ages, to start to gain interest in the business of what you want to do when you reach school.
Well, like when did you start?
Yo, I started in high school actually. My verse on the whole thing, I wrote in detention. And I got detention because I started writing that verse in class. So I got into trouble for doing my own thing in class, and then I was sent to detention. When I got to detention, I finished the verse.
I would have just got a whipping.
Yeah, no, back in those days, yeah, whooping was in the works there, but yeah, man, some of the lyrics that you hear on the first Morafe album are lyrics that we all wrote in our high school days. And obviously songs evolve as you go, you'll change the beat, you'll refine the lyrics here and there to make them current. But we started this, man, back in '95 in high school. My first performance was in Standard 6, Mafikeng High. I think it was a variety show, a talent show at school. And when I got off stage and the response I got, I realized, damn, I need to do that too. I need to get into this. And that's where it all started.
Like that's where you got to go.
Yeah, I mean, look, bruh, in your history, in your musical history, you'll come across a lot of people. I mean, I'd been through about 5 crews before we started Morafe. So, yeah, you go into that crew, break up, start that crew, break up, and then eventually you find, And then the funny thing about how Morafe started was, Mo is my cousin, Kuli is my cousin through Mo. KG I went to primary school with. So when I found out, because KG was a rapper before he started singing, so when I found out KG was rapping with Kuli, I was like, wait a minute. And I was with Mo, so Mo and I were a duo, Kuli and KG were a duo. And Mo tells me, yo, man, there's a cousin of ours, Kuli, the nigga of his, KG, and they rapping. And they were about to join a crew that I was recently kicked out of. And I was like, over my dead body, that was my boy. And we went and poached them. And because they were starting to make a noise, and I was coming from a crew that was like prominent in our age group, DRM. And because my family moved to another town, I had to leave the group, And then, you know, they made me give back the jacket and I got bitter, you know. So when I heard that Queen and KG was about to join them, we were like, hell no, you know, start this thing. And then we called ourselves Ill Tribe. And then there was a group called Tribe that came out.
Another one called Tribe Called Red.
You know, and then we were like, okay, we'll turn from Tribe to Morafe because it means the same thing. And yeah, so, you know, the rest is history. But yeah, we come along.
I win. Bojela Mod, I win. Bojela Sis, I win. Bojela Fly.